MisanthroPod.
Hello and welcome to episode 81 of the MisanthroPod. I'm Snipe, and as always, I'm joined by Wib. Say hello.
Hello.
And I'm also joined by drummer Matt. Say hello.
Hello.
How are you lovely gentlemen today?
I'm okay. I thoroughly enjoyed our new theme tune. That is totally the theme tune we're going to use.
It's got a beat, you know.
We're going to be using that for every episode past this.
Earworm. Just gets in there.
Yeah.
Oh, it's lovely.
It's great. If only someone knew who made it.
Ah, yes.
One could possibly guess that it was made by a Matt that was bored of waiting for us.
And is currently sitting in 31 degrees Celsius heat.
Yeah, the heat's getting to me. But faffing about with recording something on Audacity got the cause out of my head, so that's a bonus, I guess.
I'm glad. I completely forgotten about the cause.
So had I. I have no idea why it was in my head.
It just happens sometimes.
And now I'm remembering the weird SMTV thing where they all put on, like, way too much lip gloss and pretended to be Irish for a while.
SMTV was a weird show. Anyway, Matt, how are you?
I'm good, if a little warm.
A little.
How are you guys?
Good if a little warm.
I'm barely awake and boiling, so this podcast is going to be fucking terrific, because, like, you've gone Troppo, I'm exhausted and basically high off my tits, and Wib is Wib, so it's going to be a fucking amazing.
I'll be the glue that holds this sinking ship together. I'm maybe mixing my metaphors a bit here.
I'll be the glue that builds this bridge.
So...
Good.
In that vein, we should have a little bit of a talk, because we all did something the other day, which was we played a gig.
Okay.
We played a gig as our band, which is called Fighting Evil is Cool, and are a ska band.
From Derby.
We played a gig because a local venue called the Maze in Nottingham is shutting down, and they have a ska Sunday. And it was the last one, so we were asked to play, despite the fact that we're technically still on hiatus. So we got together and played a gig for the first time in like 8 months.
Yeah, it was pretty good. We our new trombone player Denton. It's not his fault. He couldn't make it, so we had our old trombone player Ben fill in, which was really nice to see him again and really nice to play with him again.
Yeah, it was nice.
I forgot how terrifying he is to be in a vehicle when he's driving it. He literally cannot, like, any maneuver he does in a car, he shouts at anyone else on the road and calls them a bell end.
He's a lot better than he used to be.
Oh, I think having 2 kids chilled him the fuck out. But still, he's still so angry on the road. It is just terrifying.
He's so nice in real life.
Yeah, I
know, he's like the nicest guy in the world, but then put him behind the wheel of a car and he just starts frothing at the mouth.
But did everyone enjoy playing a gig again?
I loved it.
Was everyone okay? Like remembering shit.
Yeah, I was okay, but because I'm on medication now, it made me a bit spacey, so I fucked up a lot.
I think that's probably an okay excuse. You see, I had a weird thing where for the first, 4 songs of an 8-song set, I just completely fuck up the basic chord structures of things and for the first rep of it, because muscle memory apparently doesn't kick in for the first 10 seconds. And then it kicked in, and then I remember, because all the more complicated things that I had to play were later on in songs, all the complicated stuff I never messed up, but it was all of the easy things that normally I'd be on autopilot doing, but I couldn't quite autopilot, possibly because it was fucking ridiculously hot on stage.
It really was so hot, almost as hot as it is in France right now.
But it was also really nice to see a bunch of channel viewers who came in.
That was rad.
So thank you for coming, the people that did. And hello again.
Hello
and
again.
We're sorry for who we are as people.
Yeah, we'd gone a bit heat crazy there. But it was still really nice to hang out with y'all.
Yeah, it was nice. It was nice. But yeah, anyone else have anything to say about the gig?
I thought it was really fun, and I'm looking forward to when Drumblebum comes back so we can start doing more gigs.
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Because it was fun. And then maybe we can write, like, in the next 10 years, we can write, like, 2 more songs.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Look, all you need to do as a band is write about 20 songs and then play
Just
those
never write
forever.
anything else.
Play those for like a
Very
decade.
occasionally learn a new cover.
Yeah.
Every now and again.
Or steal a new cover off someone.
It's fine.
I think most of our covers we have stolen. Because we stole Propane Nightmares from another band.
Who
Yeah,
don't
but in
exist.
our defense, they shouldn't have done it so fucking terribly.
And then we stole Call Me Al from Mr. Wolf as a joke. And then we do Goldfinger's cover of 99 Red Balloons occasionally. I think the only cover that we didn't steal was when we do 40 Seconds of Baby Got Back.
Yeah.
That's an original cover that we own.
Do not steal.
Do not steal our original cover.
It's ours. Copyright us. You can't steal it, but we can steal any other cover we like.
But anyway, I'm supposed to be the one keeping some kind of structure here. So, Matthew.
Yes, hello.
Drummond Matthew.
Hello.
What have you been up to?
I have been back in the UK, obviously, for the gig.
Yes.
Well, we
It
were
would be
back.
pretty fucking impressive if you weren't.
Yeah, just do it by Skype, it'll be fine.
No, he just has really long arms.
While I was back, we had a D&D session,
We
which
did.
we will talk about after our sections.
We will.
I went to see Enter Shikari when I got back from in France, which was fun.
Yes.
I've liked them since I was a teenager, and they just seem to somehow get better. So that was very good. I don't have much else to say. I was travelling, and then it was too warm to do things. But I do have one thing to talk about. I watched a new Netflix series,
Okay.
which I started. I stayed with our singer Dicko, which some of you guys know.
We should blame him.
Yeah, it's probably his fault. I stayed at his house before the gig, and we watched the first 4 or 5 episodes with him, and then I was like, well, it's only 10 episodes, so I might as well finish it. So I downloaded them onto the Netflix app thingy and watched them on the plane. Final Space.
Yes. I keep getting recommended that.
I hadn't heard of anything about it.
You see, because it's like a Netflix animated thing, I think I still had the horrible flashbacks to watching like 5 episodes of Disenchantment. Mm-hmm. So I was a little bit reticent to try it, but every person I've heard mention it says it's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's better than Disenchantment, but that says nothing for it, because nothing is not better than Disenchanted.
I mean, true.
Yeah, I enjoy it. It's 10 episodes, 20-minute long, animated Netflix original thing. I think made by a YouTube guy. I had a little tiny look into it.
Okay.
And I think the guy was YouTube, and he, like, basically pitched it, and a few people in, like, YouTube Premium tried to get it on there, and a few other things, and it ended up on some American network. I can't remember. TBS? Is that a network? I can't remember. Anyway,
CBS?
it's on Netflix. I might be getting confused. It's warm. Anyway, it's on Netflix, and it's quite good. Okay, so I have 2 apologies. First off, to everyone who doesn't know what Dicko is, this will mean nothing. And secondly, to Dicko, if you're listening. But it's a very Dicko series. You know when he recommends us stuff, and that means things to you guys. I don't know how you're going to translate that to everyone else. I think, in short,
that
it's
friend that you have who is wonderful. You love them dearly as like a sibling, but they like things that are terrible.
This isn't terrible. So that, but yeah.
But they like things that are bad.
I think a more polite and tactful way of putting it is that the friend you have that likes a lot of things that are very different to your tastes. So whenever they recommend something to you, you have to factor that in.
So I'll say first, I did enjoy it. So it's not terrible. So it's not like some of his recommendations.
I just wanted to be super inflammatory and silly.
But it's very loud and abrasive. It's a little bit slightly veering on the edge of a bit too much, lol random.
Yeah.
That sort of, it's funny because it's weird or something, but like slightly too much, not too much, if that makes sense. But it's definitely pushing the borderline of that.
Yeah.
It's very silly, but it's also like oddly charming and quite sweet in places. So I think that sums up Dicko quite well. Again, sorry if you're listening. Love you, dude.
He's not listening. He doesn't listen to these. That's fine.
But it was good, and it was only 10 episodes of 20 minutes. And apparently there's quite a lot of, like, stuff behind it and things when you look into it a little bit more. But
does it have deep lore?
it has some lore, I think. But yeah, overall it was good. It was nicely animated. Voice acting was good, if not, well, again, veering on the slide of a little bit shouty. You know, you've watched Adventure Time. You know Lemongrab?
Yeah.
It wasn't quite like that, but a lot of the characters kind of shouted a bit like that, basically all the time.
Oh, okay.
Oh dear.
Not quite that bad. But I'm just because that's the first thing that came to my head to compare it to. But it's nowhere near that abrasive. But it is sort of getting that way sometimes.
Okay.
I'm not describing it very well. I did enjoy it, and there is a second series coming out, which I will watch at some point. But I'd be slightly hesitant to recommend it to people.
One of those that you can say you'd say give it a shot.
Yeah.
But you know, with the caveats of the you might not get on with it.
Yeah.
But I guess if it's only like 10 episodes and they're 20 minutes long.
Yeah, exactly. If you watch it and you don't, I wouldn't blame anyone for not liking it, but also I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people do really like it. So for me, it was quite enjoyable, but yeah.
Well, as I say, I've seen a lot of people have recommended it to me, and I've just not got round to it.
Yeah, you have to give it a chance, and I'll be interested to hear what you say.
I'll come back here next time and just be like, it was shit. Why did you recommend
Well, that's
this
the thing.
to me?
It's like I can see why people would absolutely love it, and I can see why people would really not like it, and they're both right.
Yeah.
So it's one of those. It's not I'd struggle to say if it was. I mean, it's well made, so I guess in that sense it is objectively good. But I struggle to say to judge as to whether people would enjoy it or not. Hence my hesitant recommendation. But I mean, it's worth giving a try. Again, like I've said with a few other things, if you've got Netflix already, you might as well give the first episode a try just to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's basically me done, I'm afraid. Just been a tad warm.
Fair enough.
How many hugs did you give Ruth when you got home?
Well, a lot, and annoyingly not that many, because I got home, and then she's like a crazy busy 2-week period at work at the moment, and then I got home, like I said, my parents turned up the day after I got home. They stayed for a couple of nights, and they left about an hour ago, and then we've got 3 more visitors arriving in about 4 hours.
Oh no.
And then they leave tomorrow morning, and then tomorrow evening we've got another couple of visitors coming for the weekend. So it's just crazy hectic.
Oh, well, you need to give Ruth a bunch of hugs when you can.
So yeah, it's not the right weather for being this busy.
Not at all, no.
Absolutely not.
We'll cope. I guess I can't really complain, to be honest. It's nice. It's really nice having visitors. So it's just, I mean, we booked them all in they all asked months ago. And we're like, yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine. It'll be a bit tiring, but it'll be fine. We could just about cope. And then the weather happened. We're like, well, we can't say no to them now.
You just tell them to fuck off,
Yeah.
when you
Yeah.
they show up and you just no, sorry.
Sorry, too warm. Go home. My parents drove here, so I mean, just go. No, sorry. You have to drive home again.
I mean, to be fair, it probably wouldn't take them a massive amount of time to drive home.
And they did have aircon in the car, so I mean...
And they have windows that they can open, so it's actually probably a kindness.
Well, I'm driving in a car is probably superior to you recording this podcast right now. So.
Yeah, I'd say so. Anyway, that's me done before I start saying something incredibly inappropriate due to heat, so... So, Snipe, what have you been up to for the last few weeks?
Honestly, not too much, apart from gig and D&D and stuff. Because, so we talk about mental health a lot on the podcast, and I've been having a real hard time with it. The past few months have been pretty horrible. And I've gone back on my antidepressants, which I haven't been on for...
Years
and years. And... the first 2 weeks are kind of an adjustment period because there's a whole lot going on with your body chemistry.
Yeah.
So I've basically been going through the symptoms like a tick box. Like it's a fucking set of achievements. And I've been going from kind of feeling numb and getting severe vertigo to basically borderline manic episodes.
Yeah.
And now I'm going through the thing where I'm aching and I'm exhausted all the time. Just I tend to kind of cycle through one new symptom a day.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I guess at least
this one's been going on for a couple. But...
you're getting, you're getting bang for your buck.
Yeah, I mean,
you've got
to catch them all. So
yeah, most people would only get one like side effect, or maybe like 2 or 3. Whereas you're like looking at the list and going, okay, I'll have that one, I'll have that one, I'll have that one.
Honestly, it's just a dart at a fucking board right now.
Just getting your money's worth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of meant that I've not really been able to commit to anything in the past couple of weeks because like my brain chemistry is realigning and I'm getting all those symptoms out the way and going to A&E because I get panicked about my body going numb.
Yeah, that was the thing.
Yeah, that was the thing. It's okay. Like I did we phoned up the non-emergency line and the woman was so nice. She was Scottish, which immediately put me at ease.
Yeah.
And she was like, describe your symptoms and all that. And I'm like, well, I'm feeling so dizzy. Like the room is spinning. Also, my body is like numb, but also I'm getting like horrifying electric shock. And I told her what tablets I was on, and she was really nice. She was like, okay, you need to get to the emergency walk-in center. That's 1.8 miles from you. And then I mentioned it, I was like, oh, that's not far. We could walk that. And she was like, excuse me, you are not walking. And she for a good couple of minutes, she was like, promise me you won't walk. Promise me. And I was like, okay, Scottish mum, I won't. It was actually really lovely.
Oh.
But yeah, it turned out that it was just symptoms kind of being bad because, like I've mentioned before, when I get really, really stressed, my body basically mimics stroke symptoms. So I think it was like a bit of that residual stress mixed with some side effects just really hecked me up. But I'm okay, and I've adjusted a hell of a lot better.
Good.
And I've got to go back in a few days to the doctors and basically tell them how I'm getting on and then decide if I'm going to bump up my dosage and go and continue forward with this particular medication.
Yes.
So fingers crossed everything goes well. So yeah.
But side effects aside, are you feeling any better?
I am feeling a lot better.
Oh, that's good.
That's the weird thing. They tell you that it will take about 2 weeks to start working. But, I was out in town when I took my first tablet. And I think by the next day, I felt so much fucking happier. Like, without wanting to dwell on, like, depression too much and, like, the symptoms I suffer from. Like, alright, it was like after a few days, and I remember looking at Wib and going, I haven't burst into tears for no reason in like 4 days. And I was so shocked.
Yeah.
Because like, it was literally, I couldn't go like a day without like having at least like one really horrible emotional meltdown. And it was like, yeah, no, this isn't good. So I need to like get better. And like, I've done counselling and stuff, which does help, but sometimes your chemistry is so fucked. Unfortunately, like, antidepressants are the only way to go. And yeah, the symptoms haven't been fun, but honestly, the fact that I'm leaving the house now and I feel a lot more positive about things has honestly given me such a new lease of life.
Oh, nice.
It's absolutely amazing.
Good. And the side effects
really
die
nice.
down, right? They're not there.
They die down,
once
they
your
die
body's
down.
sort of used to it a bit. So you just have to ride the wave, I guess, for a bit.
Yeah, it's just the adjustment
Yeah.
period that can be pretty shaky.
Yeah, it's like notoriously rough.
Yeah, I don't want to
like
take anything away from what you've had to deal with, but they do get better. So.
No, they do. They have gotten a lot better. It's like, I'm still kind of getting like maybe a little bit, I'll have like a little bit of a numb sensation in my right arm or whatever. But that's kind of like really easing off now. Especially because I'm coming up on like, I think I'm like
a week and a half at this point.
I'm like a week and a half out of the 2 weeks. So it's like definitely started to like chill out quite severely, which is very welcomed. But yeah, and you got to go back to the doctors, and then they'll be putting me on 100 milligrams if I've been doing well with it.
Yes.
So that sounds even better. So yeah, and because of that, I have done fucking naffle. I've basically just been, apart from, like, shared stuff, I've just been playing The Sims 4 and just chilling out, which I have been enjoying The Sims 4. And Longfang, like, the dick he is, got me the vampire expansion, because then it unlocks, like, a spooky area. And it introduces, like, weird RPG elements to it, where, like, if you have a vampire sim, which you can just create vampires now, that's good. You can, like, you start off as, like, a fledgling vampire, and then you have to, like, read about vampire lore, like, on the internet, or order books about it. And then, like, by feeding on people, or, like, getting trained by higher-ranked vampires, you basically level up and get a bunch of skills.
Okay, I'm just gonna say the people making The Sims... Is it still Maxis, the maker? Or is Maxis dead
Maxis is
yet?
like a dead shell. It's just a name attached to it.
Well, whatever poor sods are currently making The Sims, did they just play a bunch of Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines?
Probably.
Sorry, we should play with this in our game.
Because everything you've told me there is, like, literally a mechanic.
No toilet
in
door
one way or another.
handles, I'm afraid. So it's not entirely there. But no, like, you can do things like an interesting thing is, like, every, like, few skill points, you have to take a point in a weakness.
That's interesting.
Okay.
So,
That's
like,
cool.
you can, like, take this where you have a vampiric allure that you can kind of activate so everyone finds you super attractive and, like, charming. Or
The drummer mat button.
The drummer mat button, exactly. or
I told you I was
what
delusional
else
at this point.
I wouldn't say that. I think you're incredibly charming. But yeah, or things like, you can read other Sims' minds to kind of figure out their likes and dislikes, or you can, like, basically, like, cast suggestion and make them clean your house or whatever.
Nice.
And, like, after every so many points spent, you have to take a point in a weakness, which is like, you're extra sensitive to sunlight, or you're, you can only sleep in a coffin, versus you can sleep anywhere, but you regain less vampire energy when you do sleep. And it's interesting because they only have, like, 4 bars of, like, needs. So they have, like, thirst, hygiene, fun, and social, I think. And, like, they literally can be awake for days and days, because they have, like, this huge vampire energy bar that it goes down when you cast, like, a vampire spell.
So it's got to play double duty, so it makes sense that it's big.
Yeah, but it does take forever to deplete. It's quite cool. And if it's, like, depleted, and you go outside in the sun, it'll, like, kill you. But yeah. And, like, yeah, that's been fun. They also have dark forms. So, like, you create, like, a nice human-looking sim, and then you can also create the dark form, which can look like literally a Nosferatu. Because they have the Nosferatu teeth and the Count Orlok, like, costume. Which is just, like, that's fun. I thought that was pretty fun. Or you can just make them look like weird vampires the whole time. It's fine. But yeah, so that's
Do they live in the
pretty
house
cool.
with other normal Sims?
They can.
Do the other normal Sims notice or mind?
No, it's just kind of like moving on. Like, they don't really notice.
Awesome.
And, like, when, like, I made a vampire, and, like, when you move into a house in The Sims, it has, like, a welcome party that comes around of all the neighborhood Sims, and they just come in and sit around, and, like, they bring you fruitcake that everyone hates, apparently. They all get, like, a negative moodlet for eating it that says, like, oh god, fruitcake's gross, who even eats this stuff? And it's like, I fucking love fruitcake, you blasphemers.
I'm on the side of the Sims here.
Oh, I'll eat your fruitcake, it's fine. And, like...
That's a weird threat.
Yeah, I'm gonna fucking eat your fruitcake, mate. What do you think to that? But yeah, and, like, one sim she got on, like, really well with, and then, like, you know, he kept coming over. And the thing is, they won't just randomly, like, attack somebody unless their thirst bar is, like, dangerously low.
Right.
Or you tell them to.
Yeah.
And it even tells you, like, in the vampire kind of, like, menu, it's like, oh, yeah, you can just forcefully feed off this person, but other Sims will react negatively to this.
Really?
And I'm like, that's fair.
I would imagine so.
However, if you're, like, good enough friends with them, you can ask them politely if you can have, like, if you can drink their blood, and they go, sure, here's my wrist, and then you basically just start gnawing on their wrist. And then, like, you get, like, a positive mood look for, like, that was tasty. And then, like, your friend Sim just doesn't, like, is just fine with it.
So this
There
is
is a
normal.
cooldown on it.
Do they
so
get a
you
positive
can't,
thing
like,
from it because they're turned on by it?
I don't know. That would make sense, though. But yeah, and, like, I had it where this Sim would come around a couple of times a day just to, like, talk to my vampire Sim. So it was, like, basically she got a free meal every day. You can order blood packs from the fridge as well, from the computer as well. So, but yeah, there's also, like, a fun thing where you can turn into a bat and fly.
Nice.
And, like, travel as a little bat, which is actually really cute. Good. I think you can actually woohoo, which is the Sims term for sex, while in bat form. I'm going to have to try that out.
With other bats or with other humans?
With other bats. Oh my god, yes, with other bats.
I mean, I hope, but I just thought I had to check.
You see, now, if it worked like Discworld vampires, where they can't turn into a single bat because, you know...
Displacement.
Yeah, like, they actually have to, you know, transfer into equal mass. So they transform into, like, a flock of bats.
Yeah.
Well, what's the collective noun for bats?
Is it a
I
swarm?
don't know. A snuffle.
A snuffle, yeah, why not?
Yeah, a snuffle. Okay, sure. Let's go with that.
I like bats.
But apparently it's really irritating if one of the bats gets, like, caught in a chimney or something. Because you can reform, but you just feel slightly wrong until the other one comes back.
Yeah. And it should have been called a Gotham of bats, and I feel really daft now.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Oh.
It's fine.
Fan. Fly me out of a can.
We can just take that bit where you say Gotham there and then impose that earlier.
Nah, it wouldn't be honest.
It wouldn't be honest, no.
I'd just call it a snuffle Gotham. There we go.
No, let's not do that. Let's move on. Let's move on.
Okay, fine. But yeah, so that's kind of been helping. I've just been, like, listening to, like, YouTube videos. Like, I can't really listen to Critical Role while I'm playing it because I'm too invested in The Sims, which is really annoying. Because, like, there's a lot to read in The Sims, so I'm, like, just reading around. Also, a development on how I said last time, how you can have basically, like, you can decide what clothing set a Sim wants and whether they can get pregnant regardless of, like, gender.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found there's just a bunch of pride flags in there by default.
Oh, that's nice.
Which is, like... I mean, corporate rainbows aside, that's still really cool.
Oh yeah, well, you know.
Because you like, and they have quite a lot in there. They have, like, the intersex flag and.
Oh, so it's not just the
it's
pride
not just
flag.
It's not just like the rainbow pride flag. They've got the bi flag. They've got the non-binary. They've got the pan flag. They've got loads of them.
Okay,
and I was really, really impressed with that. And then they have like pride shirts, but they look like the crappiest reskin. they do look really bad, actually. But I mean, it's a nice gesture at least. So yeah, that's basically all I've been doing.
Okay.
Apart from, you know, side effects. Remember, I've been suffering side effects, so heck off.
It's fine. I don't think anyone's going to judge you for that.
I kind of do, which I shouldn't.
No, you shouldn't.
No, not at all.
But it's fine. But yes, that's me done. Wibberlich. Just a little bit.
You can't not, can you?
I can't. What have you been up to, darling?
I have been up to many things.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I
think he's been, like, doing the most out of all of us.
of many different varieties as well. So, I'll get a couple of wargamey things out the way.
Cool.
Okay.
So, I've been playing with the new contrast paints.
Ooh,
They're
yeah.
fun.
That GW has released.
I
now,
like how they mix.
What, you mean how you can blend them?
Yeah, I like that you can blend them.
Yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, just to give a little bit of framework for this, especially if you've not heard about this. Basically, new set of kind of paints that have been released by Games Workshop. that are there to basically make it very easy to paint things, because they're basically, as the tagline goes, you use one thick coat, and then you've basically got that colour done. So you can add highlights to it, you can add other things to it, but like fundamentally just one coat will be enough to have like a decent look. But yeah, they came out and I thought I'd give it a shot. So we were originally going to do a video on it, but it
a lot went wrong.
It just wasn't up to snuff. So rather than put up a slightly crap video, we thought just fuck it and didn't bother.
Fair.
But I thought I'd put forth my findings of contrast paint here, so at least it wasn't just completely wasted buying those and stuff.
Yeah, I mean you've used it more than I have, so
yeah.
please.
So I've tried it on a couple of different things, because I know that it doesn't explicitly say this on the website and stuff, but I've seen some people who think this, so, and it does sort of imply that this could be the case. So basically, you don't need to use the specific contrast base coats with it. You can use anything. In fact, I've used Humbrol base coats, and it's fine. And you can get some interesting effects by doing it on the other colours. Now, I've tried it over just plain white, and I've tried it over Lead Belcher, which is the silver metallic colour. Because it's slightly see-through, and it lets what's beneath it come through, which is how it gets the highlights in it. Because effectively, what the contrast paints are just a thick wash.
Just a big daddy wash, yeah.
That's very vibrant. So you don't, because normally washes look washed out. If you just do them onto white or a very light colour, whereas these still look very vibrant. So I've just I've discovered a few things about them. So I've tried the yellow. I can't remember what it's called offhand, but it's the one that you'd use for Imperial Fists, and I've painted some epic Imperial Fists. So just the really, really tiny space.
That's the small one. You're not just rating your own paint job.
No, he's just like, oh, dude, it was so epic.
No, the epic scale ones, the super, super tiny Marines, because they're quite good for those, because you don't want to have lots of coats, especially if you're doing something like yellow that's a bit of a pain in the arse to paint. Just being able to just spray them white and then just paint this yellow over them, and then they're pretty much done. Hell, if you're doing the yellow, you can paint the black of the guns, and like I've done Third Company, so they've got red rims, because
it's a classic look.
Because I wanted to have them look like the ones from when I first started playing, so I've even given them like goblin green bases and stuff. But yeah, they always used to do them as Third Company. They still do sometimes, but like they were always shown Third Company back in the day. So, well, when I was collecting anyway, I first started collecting. But if you do that, because obviously that's red and the guns are black, then you can paint the yellow over those, and they'll just completely come through because of the nature of the paint. So it's like, oh, that's interesting. But yeah, works really well for epic things. Epic's obviously so small, and the detail is so fine on those, that that being able to just throw one coat is super useful. So yeah, they won't advertise this largely because they haven't supported the game since like 2013 or whatever. But very good for epic models. I've also tried it over Lead Belcher, where I tried red. I think it's Flesh Terror red. So it's like a dark red.
It just looks like blood. It's terrific.
Yeah. So and that gives the effect of a almost like satin red, like dark red.
It honestly looks gorgeous.
It's really interesting
nice
effect. However, there are some problems with it. It's like whilst this stuff looks really good, and it's a really easy way to get like metallic colours, because that's obviously been quite difficult to get, because you can really only get metallics from GW anyway.
Yeah, coloured metallics have always been impossible for me to do.
Yeah, like you can. There's ways and means of doing it, but for the most part, you're kind of stuck with either silver or gold, or having to use washes or glazes over a thing, which is a bit of a pain in the arse. Whereas this is just one coat over it, and it's fine. And I should probably mention that on the things it's meant for, to just get like a nice coat over something, to like do skin tones and things, works really well. But the downsides of it are that it rubs off relatively easily.
So you're gonna have to like varnish your models.
Yeah,
once you're done.
so I'd advise giving them a varnish. If you don't do that, I mean, I know I don't. I can never be asked. I really should, but I never get around to it. And also, don't let water get into it, because it messes with it. So you have to like make sure your brush is dry when you start using it. But the other thing is that it is kind of a bit of a pain in the arse to like tidy up bits. So like, say you've done say you've painted something entirely in contrast, and then you want to paint iconography on them. Like, you're not using transfers or whatever. Like, because personally, I despise the water slide transfers that you get in GW stuff, and I think that's a large part of the reason why I learned how to freehand iconography is because I hate them so much that I was like,
stubborn jerk.
I was like, fuck it, I'll just paint it myself. And if you wanted to do that and you messed up and you needed to fix it, which is, when you're doing free-handed stuff, that's quite common because it's, you kind of do it, mess it up a little bit, then tidy it up and it'll look all right. But if you do that, then you've got to obviously like go over it with the base color again, and then go over it with the wash again, well, the contrast paint again, and then hope that lines up with the stuff that's next to it, because there's obviously multiple layers of things. It can be it's a bit awkward to do. It's not impossible, but it's a bit awkward. But all in all, contrast paint, pretty good. Definitely an interesting tool.
I think they're going to be really useful for, like, say, people who just want, like, an army. Just say they're like a tournament player. They just want an army painted and just get it done quick. Or, like, people with, like, mobility disorders.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's a really, really cool thing to have. And I'm looking forward to seeing people get on with it.
Like it's not the miracle thing that some people I think thought it was going to be.
Marketing. I mean, they literally marketed it as like, this will literally cure any ailment. It's like it's a fucking paint. Come on.
So they're pretty decent. They are a little expensive. So like if you wanted to like get a full set of them to paint an army, then
it'd be a bit much.
Let's say at minimum you're probably going to need like say 5-6 of them, and they're like £4 something each.
£4.75 each, as far as I'm aware.
And then it's another tenner on top for the spray if you're using the proper spray that's been specially made for it. Not that you need it, but again, they are off whites, so it does give a different effect than just on plain white. So there's reasons why you might want to use it instead. And then you probably need the varnish spray as well. So if you've already got paints, then suddenly having to lay out all of that for like a whole new set of paints, because normally you can carry some stuff across from one project to the other. And quite often you'll just have the paint you need, and you might just have to buy maybe one or two colours that you don't happen to have or whatever. Whereas this you have to buy like quite a bit if you want to do a full thing. So it's That's a bit of a barrier to entry, but I guess for the people that it's mostly aimed at are people who don't paint, then they're just going to buy those instead of the regular paints, and over having to buy multiple shades of the same kind of paint to do the same effect, it probably works out cheaper for them in the long run, so, whatever. But yeah, so contrast paints, good. They do what they're supposed to do, and there are some fun effects with them. What I can't wait to see is in a few months' time when people have had a real chance to start experimenting with them and to see what stuff you can do with it.
Yep.
I think that's going to be really fun. In other wargaming news, I actually played a game of Adeptus Titanicus.
Ooh, nice.
How did that go?
I lost, but not by much. So, that's okay. I played it with our friend Unity over Tabletop Sim because he's made a mod for it.
Because I remember hearing talks of like you guys were wanting to play that, but nothing existed.
Yeah.
So good on him.
But yeah, I won't say too much about it because I've only had one game. But you know what? I actually really quite like it. It's one of those games where it feels really complicated when you first go into it, but then after you've had like a full turn of it, you go, actually, that's really simple. Like a round of shooting from one thing is just literally, roll a dice to see if you hit, and then the other person rolls an armor save, and then they take wounds in relation to that, which is actually knocking down their void shield. And then it gets more complicated once void shields are down, but you're probably only going to have like 5 miniatures, so it's not a big deal than being individually more complicated. But overall, it runs quite fast. I will say what I would kind of like to do if money was no object and I wasn't such a slow-ass painter, is I'd quite like to make an Adeptus Titanicus army that was based on, I wish I could remember what they were called offhand, but the Warhound Titan Legion that was with the World Eaters and the Heresy. Because Warhounds are great fun in Titanicus. Because they move so fast, and then especially if you're going after other Warhounds, because it then becomes like because you move alternately, you don't move all your forces at once. One person goes, then the other person moves a unit, and the other person moves.
Seems a bit more fair considering it's very high points, low model.
Yeah, sort of thing. But with Warhounds especially, because how quick they are, like compared to like Warlords that move like 4 inches a turn. These can zip around, and you end up like going out, like trying to flank each other, and going and having one person like try and outflank someone, and then them react to that, and then the other person try and deal with what their action was, and it just becomes very tactical and all about maneuvering, and it's really quite fun, especially when you manage to like get someone who's tried to go around one way, and then you've managed to get them in a place where they can't shoot at you, but you can unload like your Vulcan heavy bolter into the back of them and just tear down all their void shields. Like it's quite fun. I do fear that it's probably going to suffer the same fate as a lot of like specialist games of the one day it'll just die with no like warning.
Yeah.
Which is a pity because the models are quite cool. And if I knew more people that played it, I would be tempted to like try and get a full, at least a basic like army. Because I do have a warlord, but maybe one day I might buy myself some warhounds for some fun. But moving on from,
I'm just before you move on, I've got a quick question. So is it all in the game? Is it all Imperial Titans versus Chaos Titans or whatever? Is there any other forces in it with not Titans, but Titan-sized things? Or is it all literally just Titans? Not
currently. It's set during the Heresy, so...
Okay, right.
So maybe they'll expand it later, because after all, Adeptus Titanicus is a sort of rehash of the original Adeptus Titanicus that eventually was combined with Space Marine to become epic. So, who knows? Maybe they'll add other things to it in time. And other races. Who knows? I don't know if they've got any plans for it currently. But I think for now it's just going to be Imperial Titans. I guess maybe it depends on how successful it is. But anyway, yeah. So moving on from nerdy wargame things played on a tabletop to nerdy gaming things played on a computer.
Ooh, they have games on computers.
They do have games on computers now. I've played some of Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, which is the Metroid...
Not Castlevania.
The not Castlevania.
Okay, right, okay.
It was developed... Well, the development was led by... I wrote this down because I always forget his name. Koji Igarashi.
Koji Igarashi.
Who is...
That's the boy.
He was the producer on the Castlevania series for many years.
And then Konami basically decided to be the fucking worst.
Well, yeah.
So he was like, fuck it, Bloodstained.
Yeah, basically went off and was like, and put it on Kickstarter and was basically like, I want to make an old school Metroidvania game. Just give me money. And then people did. And then the game's come out, and it's very good.
Oh, good.
It was much like the Sims thing. This was something that Longfang sent to us, because he's a very generous boy, thank you. And because he knows that I really loved the original Castlevania. Like, to a crazy degree.
Really loved it.
But I've never really got into the later era, like post-Symphony of the Night era sort of stuff. I've never really been got into them, so it's been interesting to sort of try this one that's so harkens back to that stuff, but has a lot of modern like things in it to make it flow a bit better. But yeah, so you play as a lady called Miriam who's got a bunch of crystals in her, and she goes around stabbing demons. You can get a wide variety of weapons and things. If you want something that feels like the whip from Castlevania, then I found the spears, strangely, are the thing that feel the most like the whip. But yeah, it's you as you're going along, you pick up shards from the various enemies, which give you special abilities. So, like, one of the first ones you get is just the ability to, like, I think you can fire a fireball, and then you can get like summon a giant octopus tentacle.
Ooh.
And there's little ones that you get later on. Some of them are quite like simple things that allow you to, I think one of them is where you get the double jump from.
Ooh,
so
that's a
like
massive
just
quality of life increase.
Yeah, and some can give you familiars. Like, I've currently got a book that follows me around and buffs me. But you can also get, like, a giant, swords and monsters or little fairies that will attack, they attack and do other bits and things. However, the greatest one is that there are many things where you can summon an enemy to help you. Like, because the familiars are around all the time, whereas these are, like, summons that last for so many seconds. Some make sense, like, I'm going to summon these little traps that you can put on the ground, like little like carnivorous plants. Like, the first one I actually got was where you can summon toads, and then I was doing it on stream actually, and I just sat there summoning toads.
Yeah, because like froggos are awesome.
I can't think of any point in the game where that would have been useful, but I'm all ears if someone can figure out.
It's a morale booster. It's fine.
However, the best enemy is a giant round pig with wings.
Nice.
That attacks you, and you can summon those.
Oh.
And I was doing it all the time on stream because when I figured out I could do that,
Why would you not?
Yeah, I was dealing with all my.
Isn't that how
opponents.
you killed David Hayter?
I did throw a lot. Yeah, David Hayter's a voice actor in it, and yes, I hit him with a lot of pigs. There's actually 2 bosses that I beat earlier today. One of which was like this double dragon thing. It's literally a 2-headed dragon thing.
It's like a doggo dragon, and it does biting.
Or maybe they're twins. You never see the other side of them.
It's like cat dog, but it's dragon.
It might be cat dog. I don't actually know. Or was it 2 separate things? It wasn't clear from how you fight it, but it felt like it was one enemy. But yeah, that's according to a guide I looked at, because the thing afterwards that you need to do, I couldn't work out what I was supposed to do because I forgot about something. And I looked up a guide and it said, this boss is really hard. It's like one of the hardest in the game. And I'm like, are you sure? Like, other ones I fought were harder. But, whatever.
Why isn't there like a heaven, like hell versus hell mode?
No, it's not that. It's just, it was just weird to pick out this one as being one of the hardest in the game. And I'm like,
yeah.
Already I fought ones that I thought were harder, so whatever. But yeah, it turns out just throwing pigs at them works quite well. Because
that's probably where that person went wrong then.
Because as the thing advances, the pigs are bouncing around and just hitting it like 5 or 6 times, like in quick succession.
So you're basically just throwing bouncy balls at things.
Yeah, I also fought one that was like a speed-based character who zips around everywhere on the screen, but he goes from like reflective surface to reflective surface as well.
So it's basically a JoJo stand.
Yeah, since we literally watched the episode of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure that has the Hanged Man in it,
yeah,
which basically does that, like yesterday, that was kind of weird.
Yeah,
that's
a bit serendipitous.
I'm just fighting a JoJo now. But it turns out that, again, he can zip around all he wants, but if I filled the room to the brim with pigs, and he's being injured constantly by the pigs, he's not quite so good.
That's what Polnareff should have done. He should have filled the room with pigs. It would have been over really quickly.
But yeah, it's quite a fun game. The absolute best part, in its entirety, is that there are a type of enemy. There's various kinds of them that are like a big knight dude, and when you kill them, they drop their weapon and they just stand bolt upright, shaking their fists, going, "Ooh." They sound like your dad getting out of a chair,
They just kind of go, ooh. And it's like,
and it's
what?
It's fantastic,
It's
and I love it.
It's the funniest fucking noise.
I've killed probably 100 of them, and I have laughed every time. It just, I love it.
They're just like, ooh, you gosh darn kids.
But yeah, I can recommend it as a game. It is pretty good. It's as someone that's not the biggest into Metroidvanias, I don't hate them or anything, but like, I know it's one of those sort of genres where there's people who they're into it.
That's their genre.
And that's never been me. So I was wondering how into a game that is trying to be the most Metroidvania of all Metroidvanias if that'd be for me. And it turns out, yeah, it's just a good game. So
Awesome.
yeah, can wholly recommend it. I've also watched a bunch of television shows
Ooh.
on my television.
Oh.
So a couple of things that I've only watched a little bit of, but I'll probably fill in actual detail of in later podcasts. But I started watching Neon Genesis Evangelion because it's been put on Netflix.
Yep.
And I've never watched it, and I wanted to see what all the talk about it was.
Sorry, I just remembered how you tried to watch it as a dub. Now, before anyone gets super mad, dubs v subs, whatever you personally prefer. But I always prefer subs.
Yeah, I do too.
Because a lot of the voice acting has to either talk super fast and unnatural just to fit up with the mouth movements, and there's a lot of issues there. But, like, didn't they release it with the new dub?
Yeah, it's got a new dub.
And
yeah.
it's not good.
I could only stand to listen to it for half an episode, and that was because the subtitles went out of sync.
Yeah.
And even then, I did see her through gritted teeth.
Because, like, the woman that Shinji lives with is just like, oh, I'm drinking so much beer. Oh, try some noodles. Shinji, are you okay? Do you want a bath? Oh, I'm so... This is like, what?
I mean, maybe it's better at other points. Maybe I just was in it at the worst possible point. But, like... Ooh,
that's what I think of when I think of dubs.
Yeah.
And I just prefer to hear it in Japanese because it's so much less irritating. And I literally, like, as somebody who's partially deaf, I'm so used to subtitles it doesn't distract from anything. So I might as well just do that.
Yeah. But yeah, I can't speak for the overall quality of the dub because I've only heard one small part of it, but it annoyed me enough to not want to watch it. And I've heard there's some stuff like there's apparently the removal of a line that is, or at least a changing of a translation of a line that insinuated a character was gay, I think.
Oh, I've seen that. It's just like some guy saying, oh yes, I didn't know that he loved me. Or something like that.
But yeah, so watching through that, Shinji getting the robot and all that, we'll report back when I've seen the whole thing. All I will say is that there's a lot of shots that linger on bits of women. Ooh, that feels bad.
It's like a 90s anime, unfortunately. That was...
Yeah, I don't know if
pretty
it's...
bad.
I don't know if it's trying to go... Again, I've not seen the whole thing, so context is, important in these things. And because, you're kind of viewing the world through the eyes of a 14-year-old boy, maybe that's what they're trying to go for. But to someone coming into it for the first time, that's indistinguishable from the fan service that permeates anime anyway.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I've also been watching Ultraman Orb.
I am Orb.
Who declares I am Orb.
He does.
When he transforms, which is quite funny.
It's pretty fun.
But yeah, getting through that, it's fine. It's Ultraman. It's a modern, relatively modern Ultraman as well. So
he is Orb.
He is Orb. His name is Orb, and that's just funny to me. But the other thing I have been watching is I've got through most of the series UFO, which is a Jerry Anderson series from 1970. Jerry Anderson being the guy behind Thunderbirds and Captain Scarlet and that stuff. Which I've talked about in the past, but yeah, his series UFO, I was actually given a Blu-ray of it by Bearded Cyborg at Warhammer Fest, so thank you for that. Because yeah, I've been watching through it, and that's been a lot of fun. The basic premise of the show is that UFOs are coming to Earth, and initially no one's really sure what they're doing, but they are antagonistic. They will take pot shots at people. And so there is an organization called Shadow that's set up. That's this secret organization that tries to combat them before they get there. So they have like a moon base where ships are launched from and try and take out the UFOs. And if they get past, then they have planes that they send out and they scramble and try and get them. And the series is basically about this kind of escalating, not really war, because they just keep sending the odd UFO at Earth. And trying to screw with Shadow, like I'll give some spoilers because I know most people aren't going to go out their way to watch a series from 1970.
Yeah.
But because it turns out that they're harvesting people is effectively what the aliens are actually doing, and like because the UFOs, like the actual UFOs themselves, degrade in Earth's atmosphere within like a day. So if one lands, like if they damage one and it crash lands, they have to get to it quickly, and that's like the whole thing. And over time, it basically becomes Captain Scarlet, where they're taking people over, or in some instances creating duplicates. It's just
so they're the Mr. On's AF.
basically,
without the joy of Captain Black.
However, the main character, Edward Straker, is played by Ed Bishop, who played Captain Blue and Captain Scarlet. So
okay, Edward Straker played by Edward someone else, who played Captain Blue and Captain fucking Scarlet.
Yeah,
that sentence was magnificent.
That was a nightmare.
Yeah, I know.
It is too hot.
Yes, it is 100% accurate.
Oh, it's terrible.
But yeah, it's live action, unlike the other things. But yeah, it's
okay. Whoa, I didn't realize.
Well, it's in a lot of ways it's kind of a precursor to Space 1999 because I said they have a moon base. Well, Space 1999 was originally going to be called UFO 1999 and would be a sequel.
Okay.
Because the original series was made in 1970, but it was set in 1980. Not that you'd know it because it looks very, very late 60s, but.
Good.
But it's but yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with that. Weirdly, despite having all these kind of sci-fi things with all spaceships and things, my favourite 2 episodes have both been ones that have actually been about the main character's like personal life. Because there's one because basically he's a dickhead. He's a right bastard to everybody.
Is that the guy with the wig?
Yeah.
Okay. He's got like a really like pale blonde wig.
I mean, maybe it's not a wig.
It looks
it's probably
pretty
a wig.
wiggy.
It's hard, honestly. I find it difficult to tell wigs at that era of television because the way in which everything is shot and everyone's made up, everyone looks really kind of fake anyway. Especially when it's blown up to like Blu-ray quality.
Yeah, that's fair.
But so there's like so he's like a real hard ass boss because he's the head of the organization Shadow, and because of that you don't get to see him be very human. But then there's like an episode where it's him like hanging out with his kid and he's like having fun and being like a normal person.
I was going to be like, no, Jimothy.
No, he's like
you're playing blocks wrong.
But then he's split up from his wife, and so he like takes the kid.
In the 70s.
Yeah. And so he takes his kid. Well, it's in the 80s, strictly speaking.
Yeah.
But he takes his kid back, and through a bunch of things, basically, his kid gets hit by a car chasing after him because he was told to leave, and then he's got to try, and he's trying to like move resources around that he can get because of being part of this top secret organization to get like a miracle drug that's, I don't know, a vaccination for getting hit by cars or something.
bit like locking the door after the horse is bolted. I mean,
but it's basically I think it's actually like a heart medication because like it fucked up his heart when he got hit by the car.
He got hit in the heart.
But stop honing on the details. It's not
Car
important.
to the heart, and you're
to blame.
But he needs to get this drug, and he needs to get this drug to come in, and he's like made it so that these top secret urgent flights that is run by this organization, he's got it like coming on that. But due to UFO shit that's going off, it gets like rerouted, and he's like, oh shit. And so he doesn't get it in time. Oh. But he can't tell anyone why. And so as far as his ex-wife is concerned, yeah, he made a promise that he was going to get something for their son, and then he didn't, and then their son died.
Oh.
And it's just hit, and he's just like, fuck.
That's pretty fucking grim.
Another one is sort of a precursor to that, where he has kind of a flashback to basically the entire time of them, the 10 years that they were setting up Shadow, and how he got married quite right at the start of it, and how this constant secrecy and how he could never say where he was took a toll on his marriage, and it eventually all fell apart because she was like, well, you're cheating on me, and he's like, no, I'm not. It's like, well, where were you then? I can't tell you. Like, it's dangerous for me to tell you. And she's like, yeah, fucking right. And it was just a really interesting view of like how that sort of thing of a character being involved in this like clandestine organization, how it just would screw with your personal life, and sort of explains why he's such a miserable shithead. But no, those 2 episodes were just really well done. And I just really like them. Like, I like the other episodes too. They're fun in like a 60s, 70s sort of sci-fi kind of way. But yeah, but eventually, it has those little bits of like humanity to it that just really kind of stand out. I don't know, it's quite fun, but I like that kind of stuff, and the special effects are as what you'd expect from the people that did Thunderbirds and stuff like that. However, there is a particular ship in it that I'll just mention as the last thing about this, which is the interceptors that they send out from the moon to hunt down the aliens. They basically have a giant missile on the front that they fire, and it's a single shot, and they don't have any other weapons. So they have 3 of them, and if they miss all 3 shots, they're fucked. They don't have any other weapons.
Seems like a bit of an oversight.
They also look ridiculous. If you're bored and you want to see a really silly design for a spaceship, Google UFO. Probably put Jerry Anderson in there, and Interceptor.
Or UFO TV series.
Yeah.
Interceptor.
Or Shadow Interceptor, I guess. It's Shadow without a W.
Shadow.
But yeah, they look ridiculous, and it's stupid. But still, having fun with the series. Nearly done. I've got like 3 episodes left. But enjoying that.
In my head, I'm making up what Shadow what it stands for as an acronym, and I've come up with... what did I think? Space, help, assistance, department. Oh yeah.
Space help, assistant
department.
Ooh
Oh
yeah. That would be Shadoy.
Oh yeah, it's one word. Obviously.
Okay.
Come on.
Okay.
If we, I mean, admittedly, nearly
Fucking why not?
every piece of media that has to have like a has to have like an acronym that spells something out. Is that an initialization?
I think it's initialization
Or something. I can't remember. Anyway, but if whenever they have that, they tend to bend the rules as to how an acronym works.
You know what I
to make
really
them
want?
work.
I want something like, you know how there's like stars in Resident Evil?
Yeah.
I want it to be like the A being like an F, because they just couldn't get around it. So it'd be Stiffers. So it would look like a really cool acronym. But
it'd look like
one of the vowels is completely fucked.
It'd look like the Chinese bootleg of things. Like you know when they do like the Star Wars Lego knockoffs, but it's like Star Wars.
Yeah.
Because they just change like one letter in each thing.
Exactly.
And because English isn't their native language, they don't get why that makes no sense. But yeah, so enjoying that. However, the show that I've watched that I've most enjoyed, which is probably most evident by the fact that I watched all 5 seasons in like 10 days, which is I watched the entirety of Steven Universe.
Yeah, I saw on Twitter that you said you'd watched it.
Yeah. Steven Universe is really, really good. It's really, really good. It's actually something where I am probably not going to have much to say about it. A, because of not wanting to give away spoilers. But B, because it is... it's a show that made me very, very happy to just sit down and watch. Because I know that you've seen some of it, haven't you, Matt?
Yeah, I've watched the first. We tried to, after we finished whatever our last. We have a Saturday morning serials in bed watching cartoons time. And after we got through whatever we were watching previously, possibly Agretzko, of which there is more of. I still haven't seen.
Watch it, I know.
But anyway, we finished whatever that previous one was, and was like, okay, let's give this a try. I've heard really good things, and we spent like 3 Saturdays maybe watching an episode, and quite often we were like, okay, we should probably get up. No, let's watch another episode. But for 3 Saturdays, we watched one episode. It was like, shall we get up? It's like, yeah, let me go on board with this. So we watched like the first 3 or so episodes, but it never caught us on enough to then like stay and watch another episode. And then that was months ago, and we haven't got around to watching any more than the first 3.
You see, I can understand that because the first handful of episodes of it sort of establish the world, but are just sort of random episodes of just random shit happening.
Yeah, and we didn't not enjoy it. It didn't grab us and make us watch the next episode in the way that a lot of the other things we've been watching have. So we just never quite got around to it.
Yeah, I can see that. The first handful, like maybe the first 4 episodes or so, are not the strongest. It has to be said. But, you know, because the episodes are only 10 minutes long, and they stay that for the entire run, which is really weird, because, especially considering there are some big, like, story arcs that go on, yet they still tell them in these 10-minute chunks, which is really peculiar. I can't really think of another show that has done
Adventure
that.
Time was 10-minute episodes.
That's actually a point. I always forget that was like that.
They usually showed 2 in a row, so but it was two separate. But it was 2 separate episodes.
Yeah, I always forget like bits of Adventure Time because I think I only ever watched like the first season of it. Like I enjoyed it, but I just never got around to watching more of it. But yeah, as it goes on and the storyline kind of gets deeper and characters grow, like Steven's kind of an annoying kid at the start, but he's a kid, so you know.
Yeah.
But over time, he grows like so much as a character, and there's so many just little touches in it that just kind of make me happy. I mean, like the whole show is basically, hey, what if we had superheroes, but they do the whole kind of, they have powers and they do all these things, but most of the time the day is saved by like empathy and compassion. And it's just, I don't know, it's just written really well, and even like most of the characters are quite deeply flawed and have some real issues, and it is only through like communication about those and like really getting into it of you know what they've been through that they get past it and grow. Like a lot of the characters are very, very different by the time they get to the end, or at least have dealt with a lot of the worst parts of their personality, and that's just kind of nice. Also, the music's really nice because there's lots of. This is something that happens as it goes on. Like there's a lot of original music written for it, and the background music has a lot of chiptune stuff in it, which makes me happy because I just like chiptunes anyway. But this will amuse you, Matt. There is a band that gets formed towards the end of it. Would you like to know what genre this band is?
Yes.
Well, you know how the Misfits are like a punk band based on like campy horror?
Yeah.
How would you feel about a ska punk band that was based on campy horror?
That sounds amazing.
Yes. That's
excellent.
That's a band that is formed towards the end of the series, which is pretty great.
Amazing. Have they made this band in real life now?
I don't believe so, I'm afraid.
Because I want to see them.
But yeah, this has of course meant, because I watched so much of it, that I've had the Steven Universe intro theme stuck in my head for about a week. So,
yeah.
But yeah, it is a really, really, really good show. It does take a little bit to get going because it starts to tie into like an overarching story. Towards then. Also, it takes until the end of season 1 before it starts getting gay as hell.
Heck yeah.
Because
is that the official box art quote? Gay as hell.
Heck
might as well be.
Excellent.
I'll put it this way. I think it's it's the only kids show I've ever seen that has a gay wedding in it. So, and it's kind of starts off as subtext and then becomes text. And I think I described it as, by the point that I got to when I was telling Snipe about this, I was like, it's gone beyond the text of it now, and it's now just big glowing neon letters.
Heck yeah.
Nice.
A character in it is also very explicitly, agender. And apparently all the gems are written as being non-binary, which sort of explains a lot about how they're characterized, because Rebecca Sugar, who's the creator of it, is non-binary, and so that sort of was a reflection of that. And it's probably why it's probably done well, because she knows, what that's like. And honestly, just that sort of side of things of just being non-conventional. Like, most of the main characters are female. Steven's like Steven and his dad are basically the only
Steven Universe and Greg Universe.
Yes, his dad Greg Universe.
Excellent.
Fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, they're the only, like, of the... there's obviously other cast members, but of the core cast, they're the only ones that are male. And to have, like, a kind of superhero kind of thing, but it's done like that is really kind of nice. And also, like, Steven's got a lot of things that would be... I'm using very heavy scare quotes here. Stereotypically female traits, you know. He is compassionate. He shows empathy. He's the voice of reason when it comes to these things.
It's almost as if there's like basic concepts as empathy and understanding aren't fucking gendered.
Yeah, and it portrays all these things without like taking away from him being a boy. Like, it's never made a thing. It's just, this is who he is, and I don't know. It's just nice.
That's really nice. I like that. That's really positive.
Like, just that's what it is. It's a show that you watch and you go, this is like, there's bad things happen. Like, there's like little stories about certain characters who were literally going through really quite horrific PTSD from like fucking wars, but the show's just nice. And it has big stories with big, interesting characters. It also means whenever I look at like you were looking at a site the other day that had like dice made of precious gems and things, and every single one I was like, my brain was just going, oh, that's that character, that's that character.
Yeah, subconscious urge to stick it in your belly button.
Maybe.
I mean, you do you, just not with my fucking dice, okay?
It's interesting to see the characters that how characters, like, some of them are introduced and how they end up. Just a really good show. Just it made me happy.
We will get around to watching it at some point, I'm sure.
I think it's, once you get into it, it's very easy to binge because they are 10 minutes long.
Yeah.
And it unfortunately does have a crossover with a not very good Cartoon Network show called Uncle Grandpa.
Oh, Uncle Grandpa's terrible.
Which is like lol so random as a show.
I remember seeing it when we were around Ash and Sarah's Liara. Like, they had it on for her.
Yeah.
And Ash was like, fucking Uncle Grandpa. Hate that fucking shit.
It's so weird because, like, for that to be in the same sort of thing. I mean, it does, because, the sort of nature of the character. Like, it's explicitly stated this is a non-canon episode. But yeah, that's a thing. Just go watch Steven Universe. It's good.
It's gay AF. Beautiful. Love it.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. But yeah, apart from that is all me, all done, all me done all me.
Welcome to the Webcast.
It's not my fault.
You're just overconfident since the last episode where you stole both of our sections.
Yeah, so now you're like just trying to take over the entirety of the podcast.
It's fine. I've probably talked about Star Trek for longer in previous episodes.
Yes, very true.
It feels like longer. Yeah.
Collectively, certainly. But yeah, so I guess we should move on to a little bit of D&D.
Oh, yes. Thank you, my lord. Thank you for releasing the podcast back to us.
I'm going to grasp onto this, and can I actually jump in and end up sandwiching this with a tiny addendum from my section?
Yes.
Of course.
Because I remembered this halfway through one of you guys talking. I have one extra little thing to talk about.
Yeah.
While I was at Dicko's, we played Starfinder, the role-playing game, as in Pathfinder, but in space.
Yeah. Oh, I have a friend who plays a lot of Starfinder.
Yeah, I don't have much to say because we only played. Dicko's got the starter box set, so we just played through that. And because we only had an evening and we were learning the rules and things, we only got about halfway through it and then had to stop. And the chances of the same people being in the same room to finish that anytime soon, I don't know. So I don't have that much to say apart from it was really good fun. I really enjoyed it. It's based off. So for those who don't know, which I assume is basically no one, but so Pathfinder is a spin-off of D&D. Mm-hmm. When D&D went to 4th edition, a lot of people hated 4th. So and a lot of 3.5 edition, which was like the updated 3rd edition D&D, was open source or open rules or something. So a bunch of people basically in essence, carried on D&D 3.5, but made it their own thing. So none of the settings are the same, but the basic mechanics of rolling D20s and that sort of stuff are based off 3.5. So that's Pathfinder. And then that was kind of going... It's still going now, but most people, when 5th D&D came out, a lot of people who were playing Pathfinder kind of merged back into D&D because 5th is seen as generally just quite good.
Fifth edition is fantastic.
And a lot of people still play for Pathfinder, don't get me wrong. But 5th edition is now sort of the main one.
Yeah.
But Pathfinder's still going, and Starfinder, I don't know when it's spun off, but it's basically the Pathfinder rules, but with extra rules in for like guns and bits and bobs, and it's all set in space.
Yeah, it's basically the sci-fi setting.
Yeah. And yeah, I don't have too much to say apart from I really enjoyed it. Role-playing games are always great. So
Absolutely.
we were playing with Dicko DM'd it because he's played Pathfinder before. So then I was playing it with two other people who hadn't played a role-playing game before, so it took a little while to sort of encourage them to get into the role-playing side of things.
Yeah.
Especially after us playing it with you guys and like getting more into the role-playing than I would usually have done. So it was quite fun getting them to sort of come out their shell a bit and get into the more, starting to say things like, I did this rather than my character does this and things.
Yeah.
But it was really fun to go from it from that side with me being the one being like, come on guys, like just encourage, not telling them off for doing it, because however you want to play it is the correct way you play it, obviously. But trying to sort of encourage them to get into a bit more of the role-playing side of things was really good fun.
Yeah.
And the space settings, I do enjoy this, the space setting. I enjoy fantasy setting as well, but yeah, space settings are always good fun. So yeah, I don't have much else to say to it apart from, yeah, if you want to mix up your role-playing sessions, I would. It was good fun.
Cool.
But yes, anyway, moving on.
But yeah, so with that out of the way, let's do the D&D section because we
Beautiful segue there
Yes.
from Pathfinder to Dund.
because yes, we had another session of Dungeons and Dragons in our new campaign. Mm-hmm. And
Where Ash is the DM, Drummer Matt is the enigmatic crossbow fighter junior. Wib is the incredibly posh but actually not terrible and or dicky tiefling Samuel Sylvain. Sarah is the lovely short older elven druid, and I am Hella, who is Hella.
But yeah, we didn't actually get that much done in the session because this was an in-person session. It was mostly our characters getting to know each other, so there was no combat. It was just...
It was just a lot of roleplay and
Yeah.
talking to NPCs.
When I was listening to the previous podcast episode, we said, next time we talk to you, we'll have had a session, but it'll probably just be all chatting in the pub. Yeah, I wasn't wrong.
Shit. Most of it is chatting in the pub.
Most of it was
Yeah.
just us chatting in the pub.
So
Yeah.
there's not a lot to really catch up on, but we'll go through what there was, just because I know people like...
Yeah.
They like us talking this, and it's good to kind of keep track
Keep
of where
track
we
of it,
are.
yeah.
So...
So, when last we left our heroes, and I use the term loosely, we were making our way back from the library.
Yes.
Because we were just going to go back to the pub and have a drink, and then go to bed and see the mayor in the morning.
Yeah.
On our way back, I suddenly notice that Dromat's character Junior just has a bird now. And I'm like, bird! I love bird.
Yes, it was like a hawk that came and landed on his shoulder.
Yeah.
It's mechanically it's a hawk, but it's like a small one that's not like completely obscene to be perched on a shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like a little burby. So, like, Hella, who very much likes animals, is just in love with this burb. So Junior sends the burb over to sit on her shoulder, and, like, unbeknownst to Hella, Junior orders it to poop. This is a reoccurring theme of Hella getting pooped on and not realizing. Nothing has happened as a result of it yet, but I'm sure she'll notice when she takes a half plate off. It's fine. It's fine. So, like, I'm like, oh, this is so cute. I cast Speak to Animals. And I'm just, like, I'm standing there and I'm chirping away and I'm talking to this bird, and the bird just won't talk to me. And I'm like, This bird is very shy or very rude. So I start going through bird dialects. So I start cooing at it like a pigeon, and then I start like like a crow, and it's just not talking to me. And I'm like, and like the entire group is watching me do this the whole walk back.
Well, because the thing is, like, because there was some there was some back and forth between the three of you, between the DM and you pair, trying to figure out, well, especially the DM and Matt, of trying to figure out if
I could talk to
talk
that
to
bird.
animals would work.
Yeah. So then, like
which
Emma,
it didn't.
Which it didn't. Like so, but like Hella doesn't know that. She just thinks that the bird was being rude or shy. And what is it Samuel did? He cast Detect Magic.
Oh, I can't. Because you were obviously not able to talk to animals. I was kind of watching this, and so I kind of surreptitiously cast Detect Magic, and there was no magic on it either. Which is why the only note I took for the entire session was the phrase "I do not trust this bird."
Which is funny because the note that I was literally told to take was when Hella passes, like, Kit is the bird's name. When Hella passes Kit back to Junior, she just looks at me and goes, "I am suspicious as to the nature of your bird." Which the DM literally told me to write down because it would make a good podcast title. But yeah. So we go back to the Lamp and Budgie, which is the tavern that we're currently all staying in. And
you guys are staying in.
Yeah, you come in and we're just like, we have been established. This is Junior, and he's all like, hi? Okay. And we get a bunch of wine.
Which I as Samuel buy because he's got a fair bit of money and is quite liberal with it.
Yeah. At this point, Beltan just gets like a really expensive 300-year-old bottle of wine.
I'm just like, yeah, sure. Whatever.
I'm not sure if she would have done that if you hadn't said you were paying.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Hella was kind of nudging her, going, "He said he's paying. Get whatever you want. Maybe we could get food too." And Samuel's like, I didn't say food." And I'm like, food. Luckily, we get free meals anyway because the tavern keeper, Demi, just likes Beltan and Hella a lot. So we get free like board for now. Man, I think she just likes keeping Hella around because she keeps putting her foot in it.
Possibly.
Because she's like walking past the tables going, never lie, always be honest. Oh, you keep me young.
Because Junior tried on the wizard hat that we got. And was like, that. How does this look? And I think I may have stated something like, "It looks fantastic, never take it off." and Hella responds with, "That is a very ugly hat, you should not wear that hat."
I think my exact words are, that hat is terribly ugly, you look like an idiot.
Ah, yes, that was the wording.
But it wasn't in a mean way, it was just, you just look stupid. It's kind of funny.
And then I had a discussion with Hella about how sometimes you don't say everything that enters your head.
When Beltan took me aside and was like, "Now, instead of saying he looks like an idiot, maybe say something like, I don't think it's for you." And she was like, "Okay, don't think it's for you." Right. And then, like, we started talking about our backgrounds, and I won't tread on anyone's toes. I'll let everyone talk about their own backgrounds.
Yeah, I sort of went into a little bit that I am hunting for a character called the Lifebringer, who is a necromancer, and that he's who I've been after. I don't know if I gave too many details.
No, you just kind of said that, they're a very dangerous individual that you've traveled a long way following, and they go by many different names. And that's pretty much it, actually.
Like, I gave a little bit of... I think I made it sort of obvious that I was from noble stock originally.
I mean, it's fucking obvious anyway. So you speak super posh, you dress very well, and you're paying for 300 old bottles of wine for people. It's pretty fucking obvious you're of noble birth.
But yeah, 'cause you obviously you gave a little bit of what Junior does as well, Matt, didn't you?
Well, yeah, I said I don't think I went into too much detail.
You didn't
about
know
why I'm doing anything, just because it did not because he wanted to hide it or anything, just because it never really came up.
I think like the most kind of thing we got out of him was like he's been doing it for like 15 years.
Yeah,
To which
like
Hela very appropriately said, "I don't think it's for you," because that's her new fucking. Someone's taught her something now. That's
She's like
it.
a parrot.
A little bit.
Or a 5-year-old.
A 5-year-old
Yeah,
that has like a 17 armor class.
Yeah. At this point, Beltan said that she'd been doing the adventuring one, exploring around thing for like 100 years or something.
Yeah, so we were like, oh shit, fucking how old are you? Jesus.
And Hela's like, I've been doing it for like a month.
Yeah, it's like, I've been doing it for a month and I'm having so much fun. It's great. It's like, to be fair, as Hela, I think I was like, oh yeah, no, I left my town and I just walked from my town to Glimmer / Honeston, the town that we're in now. I was like, this is my first job. I'm just happy to be here. I look forward to doing this for 15 years, though.
But I remember that Demi, the barkeep, was it she who said that we were that the people who dealt with the library, the mayor wanted to speak to us?
Yes.
So basically, that sort of leashed my character to the rest, to the rest for that thing. Because it's like, oh well, I guess I was involved in that.
Guess I'm coming along.
I guess I've got to go along to that.
And Hela is just like in love with Junior, and she calls him Junebug, and he's coming along whether he wants to or not. How pissed off is Junior at her constantly calling him Junebug, by the way?
Well, to be fair, I think he's noticed that you do it to everyone, so I was just like,
Yeah.
okay, this is just... I've known you for approximately 2 hours at this point, or whatever. Or no, overnight, so if you, half a day.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, it's just Hela being Hela.
Yeah.
I picked that up after half a day.
Yeah, she's not rude, she's just not great with names.
But yeah, to kind of summarise so we don't get too bogged down and stuff, it was really just the characters getting to know each other.
It was a mixer, so like our characters could kind of introduce each other and kind of get a feel for kind of, character interactions and share a little bit of backstory. And
We did go off to the blacksmith as well.
Yes. We did. That was the next morning. We went off to the blacksmith. Because as Samuel will have noticed, in the morning, you can see over the bar into the kitchen at the back, and there's a door that opens inwards, and you can kind of see like a hand coming in and like with some weird metal kind of like pincers.
More importantly, like, a spider limb.
Limb kind of coming in and taking the food and leaving. Samuel was quite shocked to see this the first time. The morning we wake up when we've all slept in the tavern, Samuel and Junior spot that. Junior is very understandably perturbed by this.
By seeing a spider limb with a mechanical, claw on the end of it.
Yeah.
Grabbing some food.
Yeah. And he's
I know you said mechanical tip, but I heard mechanical tit.
You don't know that. It could be mechanical titters.
On the end of a spider leg.
Yeah.
Either way, it was a bit freaky.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you kind of freak out, and I'm just sitting there as Samuel being like, yeah, honestly, I've just been trying to ignore it.
And then Hela and Beltan and I are like, no, that we'll go introduce you to the blacksmith. You'll love Charlie. So we go have dinner, and we go to the blacksmith yard out the back, and there's no one there.
So you break and enter.
So it was open. I literally just walk in because.
Okay, you just enter, I guess.
Okay.
But...
Yeah, I just.
It's
walk
still
in.
trespassing.
As far as we're concerned, it's trespassing.
Yeah,
that's
at
fine.
least.
So I walk in, and blacksmith is nowhere to be seen. But I look down, and there's a little pig. Who's just called Pig, who's Charlie the blacksmith's pet.
Mm.
And I cast Speak to Animals again. And I scoop him up in my arms, and I have a wonderful conversation in Pig. about how, oh, Charlie's like, she's gone off with a couple of people, and he's very happy, and he likes getting pets, and I'm just chatting it up with this pig like it's no one's business. While Samuel and Junior are just fucking standing in the corner with their arms folded, just discussing my fragile mental state.
Well, for a short amount of time, and then this conversation goes on far too long, and we notice the really obvious drag mark track things out of the main door of the blacksmith, out of the courtyard, and then round the corner.
Yep.
So I just slowly follow those to the end, and then, see down the street a giant drider dragging some giant metal grate walking down the road with two other people. I'm like, guys, there's a drider dragging a giant gate and two other people just walking up the street, just like a few hundred yards down.
And because one of the things that we've been finding out is that the town that it's set in, that we're currently in, Glimmer, is like an old town that used to be...
Glimmer is the old name for it.
Yes, it's its old name. But it used to be like a hive of like a utopia. So all different races of things from D&D were just there
and just hanging out, just peacefully kind of going about their lives.
So there's a real mix of races that you wouldn't expect to see. One of which, it does mean that the blacksmith is a fucking drider,
and she's
which,
awesome.
If you don't know, is a drow elf but with a spider butt.
Yeah.
Basically, think Quelaag from Dark Souls, but
a friend who makes really good like gates,
and presumably wearing a bra.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Charlie is dressed. It's not weird. But yeah, so I reluctantly like end my conversation with Little Pig, and then we go and run up, and there's a bit of tension where the people she's with are kind of like, they are very visibly armed, and
because they represent the entirety of the city watch.
Yeah, so it's a half furbolg, half dwarf.
Yeah,
and
with a heavy crossbow, which
with a heavy crossbow,
possibly about approximately the size of said half dwarf, half furbolg.
Exactly. And like we run up and like Hella, I give Charlie a big hug because we're friends. Obviously, we're best friends because she was nice to me once.
Because you met yesterday, or whatever it was.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Honestly, like Junior and I are just bewildered by most of the things we've been seeing because a lot of the characters
it's from the pre-campaign
you've encountered in the little pre-campaign, and we haven't. So we're just like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah. So we introduced Charlie and the other two people that Charlie's with, introduced as Erica, the half furbolg, half dwarf, and Dylan, the halfling, and they're basically. There's no city watch because the population is that low and people have just fucked off. But they're like
mostly abandoned.
Yeah, so they're like, well, we need a city watch, we need a guard, so it's just us two for now. And Charlie's made it like a gate because, long story short, she basically went and cut all the gates down so she could just make like random things.
She stole the old gates, so now she's been forced to make new gates.
Not technically been confirmed.
Yeah, but it's so obvious.
It's so obvious that it was her that took the gates.
Yeah. We had a bit of a conversation with them, and then we just went to the mayor's office, didn't we?
No, we had a conversation about them, and they were telling us about the Legion.
Oh, yeah, so there's some establishment of a faction called the Legion.
The Legion are basically just a bunch of bad guys who believe in kind of like all sorts of horrible shit, like racial purity and all that kind of nasty stuff.
They're sort of present all over.
Yeah, they're present all over. They like kind of ensnare like younger people who are just wanting to get out of a fucking nowhere town, and then they won't let members leave, whatever that means, and So we're like, oh, okay, those sound like bad people. Okay, we're off to see the mayor. Bye.
I'm sure we won't encounter the Legion at any point in our adventure.
No, it's fine. So we go see Gwent Cardsman, the mayor. Cardsmon, sorry. Because Ash has straight up said, I ran out of ideas. So yes, Gwent Cardsmon, who is a very handsome orc mayor, who takes care of a bunch of
full
orphans.
full orc, not half
Yeah.
orc.
Yeah, no, full orc, yeah. And he's talking. We go and talk to him about what we've done in the library, and because Hela knows that he is married / used to be married to the librarian, and she's a romantic at heart, she's like, by the way, Horace misses you. You should get back together. And he's like,
Oh, thank you to keep out of my personal affairs.
He's like, oh, thank you. That's okay. And then she sees a scar and she demands to know how we got the scar. Well, demand is the wrong kind of word.
I think demand's a very accurate way of saying
No, because demanding insinuates that I'm being...
Arrested.
Yes. No, because demanding insinuates I'm being, like, quite angry about it. I was just like... He, like, just talking and he rolls up his sleeves and I'm like, how'd you get that scar?
I think the way to put it is that Hela forcefully questions.
Yeah. I mean, she's just
A
kind
forceful query.
Yes. It was a forceful query.
Pleasant interrogation.
Yes. I'll get you a cup of milk.
It's polite torture.
Yes. Yeah, I asked him, like, how he got his scar, and he's like, oh, yeah, I killed the dragon, and we were all like, fucking okay.
Dragons in D&D?
Ah! But yeah, and he just basically goes on to say that he's very grateful that we've helped him, you know, standard D&D NPC stuff. And then goes on to say that there's a bit of a problem with the mines towards the south end of the town.
Because they're like the old mines, because the whole part of the backstory of this town is that it used to be somewhere that had lots of mines, and that's why it was rich.
Yeah, it was just like the gold veins and stuff around it were absolutely insane.
And that was why it was so rich and was able to have this kind of utopian sort of society.
And then like one day everyone wakes up, goes down to the mines, and the gold has just been vanished. It's just spirited away. No one knows where it's gone. So suddenly the entirety of its wealth is just literally evaporated. So yeah, it's talking about like weird things coming from the mines and how he hates to ask more of us, but
could we
could
investigate?
we go have a look and like talk to some old miners? I've also got a note here that I rolled 5 natural ones in a row. This is 100% accurate. Those were all on different dice as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It was a weird one, yeah.
It was a weird one, but I mean, I think we needed to kind of have that introductory kind of thing with the other 2 characters as well, of Junior and Samuel.
Yeah, we had to get a bit of a grasp on the world. Like, some of these things had to be established. So it was like a very exposition-y sort of thing, but
it was a lot of fun, honestly.
Yeah, it was fun, but yeah, it was just a lot of little things that needed to be done. And to kind of keep you guys up, we kind of also have to say it as well. Because there's a lot of little bits about characters and where we're going that just need to be mentioned.
Yeah. But yeah, we're going to be resuming that probably next week. So yeah, we'll have hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll have another story for you next podcast. Where we probably go and kick in a bunch of giant like spiders or something. It's going to be great.
Probably. But with that said, we should move on to the questions.
Les questiones.
Ah, yes. Questions.
And Matthew, what email address should people send the questions to?
Only drummermat at snipeandwib@gmail.com.
What was that email address, Snipe?
Fuck. It was only drummermat at snipeandwib@gmail.com.
I wouldn't have asked you to repeat it, but when I heard the sigh of relief come from you when I asked Matt to say it, I had to.
Wait.
But yes, do we have questions?
We have a couple. I think there's 4, and one of which is a recommendation, not a question. So it should be relatively brief.
Okay, cool.
And then I can go and melt in peace.
Yeah,
Yes.
dude.
Okay. First up, Alphalin. This one's actually a bit of a serious question, as much as we usually quite often cock about with these.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have any advice for dealing with alcohol at the gaming table? Most of our players have no issues with a few beers, but we do occasionally have a few that take it a bit too far. Yeah, like I was like,
That's a tricky one. Seeing as like, I mean, I'm going to inject humour very briefly here for some levity.
Yeah, please do.
Nathan, my main character from the from Drummat's campaign. is a bit of an alcoholic. So I can joke about that and say I'm getting into character. However, I've never been, like, drunk at the table, and I wouldn't want to be. So I completely understand your angle on this, because, like, yeah, having a beer or two is, like, fine, but...
And in fact, to be honest, having a beer or two loosens you up a bit for the role-playing side.
It's like... So...
I wouldn't say it's not essential at all.
Oh, no, not at all. But it's like, I can understand how you'd like to have a beer or two, just to kind of, like, get into it and just have a bit of a relax, because, you know... But... I don't know how you'd broach the subject, because it's like, I feel that, like, I can't think of anything that isn't just banning alcohol at the table outright, letting it.
Honestly, I think the answer,
which I wouldn't say.
What I think is the answer is just very boring, but it's, you know, it's the obvious one, which is obviously not while someone is drunk, because they're not exactly going to be very receptive to it, and the damage is sort of done, but if they're like someone doing it like one time, like having a bit too much, because that can happen.
You can heck up occasionally.
You misjudge your tolerance that day. Like maybe you didn't have anything to eat or whatever, and it can happen. But I think if that's a thing people are doing, you kind of have to like take them to one side and like nothing public. You take them one side and go, look, the amount that you're, you know, that getting drunk at the table whilst we're playing is like
it's disruptive.
I understand that you're having fun, but like that's disruptive to the rest of us because we're not getting drunk. Like,
well, that's the thing. It's you're having fun. The rest of us aren't.
Yeah,
and
like
that's the problem.
It makes the game hard, like, you know, difficult for the rest of us to play when you're doing that. So, would you mind maybe dialing it back a bit? And obviously, you know your relationship with the people in question, like how well that would work. And I guess the thing is, like, I mean, it's awkward to say because basically I only play D&D with the sort of people who I could say that to and they go, oh shit, sorry, okay. So, I mean...
I don't feel that we're the norm.
I know some people...
reading stories online about other people's gaming groups.
I have read
some of the conflicts
serious
involved.
Fucking horror stories. Jesus.
Yeah. But, I mean, really, all you can do is just be honest about it.
Communication and honesty, I think, is probably the best way to go.
It's like, horrible and it makes you flare up in anxiety, but I think you're just going to have to bite the bullet and say, hey... Maybe be a bit more moderate with your imbibing of alcohol because, dude...
Because we all want to play a game, and if someone's drunk, then they're not able to play the game at the same level everyone else is doing. And it becomes kind of unfair because everyone else has to cater for that one person. Yeah. And it's supposed to be everyone working together.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, yeah, it's just about, you know, you just got to, I guess it's just a thing of just, so why you know, these sort of situations are usually because the person doesn't realise that what they're doing is being kind of disrespectful to everyone else they're with.
Yeah.
They don't realise that they're putting this on someone. They think, I'm getting drunk, that's fine. They don't realise that that affects other people around them, especially if the other people around them aren't drunk. Like, when you're sober, drunk people are the worst. When you're drunk, they're great fun. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think it's just about communication, really. You've just got to do it. As horrible as it is, you just got to do it.
Yeah, you don't. And I'd probably say like sooner rather than later, because if you put it off, all you're going to do is like subconsciously build up some sort of resentment, and you don't want. You want to come at it from a good place. You don't want to be like angry or annoyed.
Yeah.
If you can, it's better to try and come from a place, you know, have it as positive as you can, rather than starting off on the wrong foot.
Yeah, you just come to them with concern and say, look, I'm just, you know, this is doing this and this is how it makes me feel and this is how it's, you know, affects the group. So would you mind, you know, not, basically.
So very boring answer, but I'm afraid.
If you want a more fun answer, just every time they go to take a drink, spray them with a water bottle.
Yeah.
Hit them on the nose with a rolled up newspaper.
Yeah, there you go. There's some levity.
Or if you're playing D&D with miniatures, or if indeed the table we're talking about is like Warhammer, just take a hammer and every time they open a new drink, smash one of their models.
Maybe don't do that.
Yeah, seems fair.
So that's the funny answer that will also get you smacked in the face.
Yeah,
deservedly so.
Deservedly so.
Is deservedly a word?
Yes.
You're checking. You're looking on your phone. Deservedly is a word.
Mm-hmm. Deservedly. Oh,
See?
fucking...
It's a real word.
Okay. That's fair.
See,
Okay.
and Google even said it to you.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
To
What's
get,
the
you
next?
to get you off the run. Off the run? That's not the phrase. Get you off the hook. I'll move on.
Yes, it's probably for the best.
Next up, Reek the Cadian Guardsman. And I was so expecting to say Canadian when I said that. I was like, I'm so hot, I'm definitely going to get this wrong again. Sorry, Reek. This is a recommendation, not a question. So, they say that they've been a fan of a podcast called Lorehammer for a while. And recently they've told their viewers about a new 40k audio thing called Cold Open Stories.
Okay.
Yeah, I've not seen it, so I've not checked this out. But they say they're not going to lie, they're not the best at wording things, but they can't stress enough how amazing the first 2 episodes are, and they honestly recommend it to all of us.
Okay.
So
Okay, I'll have to
Thank
check
you
that
very
out.
much for that.
yeah, I think it sounds they've sold it enough that I kind of want to check it out at least.
Okay. Yeah. No, I'll give it a listen.
So that's Cold Open Stories on. I think it's on YouTube. I think they did send a link, but obviously I'm not going to read out the YouTube link on.
No, we want you to read out the exact URL.
Nope, I can't because I didn't put that into my document thingy that I use.
Okay,
So-
you're off the run for now.
Yeah.
Fine.
Next up, Acidus. Just wanted to ask if you guys, presumably you two, are still thinking about doing a charity stream anytime soon.
Yep.
Yes.
We're gonna start making moves towards that properly.
Awesome. They want to help
Soon.
support it, is why they were asking.
Oh, lovely.
Thank you.
But yeah, no, don't worry. We're gonna be announcing it and shouting it from the rafters. Don't you fret.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
It's because I think we were talking about it and we're planning to do it. It's going to be this summer.
Okay.
We're going to do it. We just need to pin down a date and figure out how we're going to get the how we're going to deal with the donations and things. And
So
Yeah.
this summer.
coming to a Twitch near you. Watch 2 dickheads play video games for 24 hours.
It's gonna be fucking terrific.
Excellent. Do you have a charity in mind? Have you mentioned this before?
Yeah, we're thinking of mermaids.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Because we were planning to do it
Yeah, before
ages ago.
This was before H Bomber Guy did his big mermaid.
His outrageous one. And
This
yeah.
is literally before.
Go on then, you guys have got to top that. That's your...
Yeah, okay. Let's just do that then. Let's
yeah.
go do that.
But yeah, because given that, especially in the UK right now, there's a lot of transphobia in the media.
It's
in the
fucking
new in
disgusting.
in newspapers and things. There's,
Too many
Yeah.
people are paying attention to TERFs.
yeah, so we wanted to do. We've been looking for a charity that helps trans people in some fashion, and Mermaids was the one we initially saw. We are looking to see if there's any other ones that might be that. Because obviously we're not going to raise H-bomb money.
No, unfortunately.
Because he rose it was $300,000.
It was 300, maybe 3.5. A lot of monies.
A comical amount of money.
Yeah.
To
the point where
see if
I'm
there's
really-
a smaller charity that maybe would need the money more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we that's all in the air. We don't
Yeah,
know exactly
we
what.
will figure this out. So
Yeah.
don't worry. But yeah, we're thinking.
Yeah.
Okie dokie. Good. Right, very last question.
Okay. So.
This is an email to me.
Oh.
Dear
Is it
Drummer
from
Matt.
you?
It is not. It's from Smug Monk.
Oh.
So, Drummer Matt, can you please tell us of the time that Snipe found an old knight's helmet with real deer antlers on it in an antique shop?
Okay.
Oh, how the tables have turned!
I want to hear about this story.
Yeah,
Yes.
drama Matt.
It's very warm and my memory's not too great, so Wib, you might have to jump in and help me out.
Okay,
occasionally.
sure.
Okay, I'll
So-
just sit here and just quietly simmer in my hubris.
So, this was a couple of summers ago. It was warm, but not current warm, but it was still warm enough to get you, when you start going a little bit doolally
Yeah.
in the heat. And we were all hanging out in just some random little town somewhere in the middle of Derbyshire. I can't remember which, but one of the, small towns.
Like Etwall, sort of a place like
Yeah,
that, yeah.
somewhere. I can't remember off the top of my head. But we were having a nice fun day out, probably playing Pokemon Go. And we saw an antique shop, and we're like, you know what? It's quite warm outside. We need a bit of shade. Well, let's just pop in and see if we see anything interesting. I think because I think there was a poker stop just outside, so we were nearby anyway.
And you did want to get inside because the hat that you normally wore, the Alf one, with the gravy stain on the top, you'd left that at home. So
yeah.
It's canon.
So we went into this antique shop, and we were milling about a bit, and then all of a sudden we just heard like a full on like excited noise, and it wasn't just a sword. It went on, and we were like looking around the shop, and you couldn't. I think because there was so much stuff in there, the echoes were weird. We could not locate this, and it took about a good 5 minutes to try and find where Snipe was.
There was a bunch of dogs barking as well because of it.
Well, yeah,
so
obviously it was very high pitched, so dogs obviously could hear it better than us. But it was just a constant noise. I don't know how you were breathing at the time.
Circular breathing.
Circular breathing, probably. Yeah. So yeah, there was this old Arthurian. I don't know if that's a word, but Arthurian like knight's helmet. But someone at some point had like welded like actual huge stag antlers onto this thing, and it was right up on the top shelf, so you couldn't reach it, but you were just stood there with your head up, just staring at this thing, emitting this excited squeal. So we did the obvious thing, and I obviously, being me, wanted to try to fight you out the way and get this hat for myself because
Yeah, you do that.
Yeah.
But I thought, what, this time I'll take a deep breath, I'll try and not get too excited by this hat, and I'll see what happens if I let Snipe have it, because usually you don't get to have your best things because I steal them off you and then slime them.
Yeah, so this is very true.
So, we'll see. We'll try and I'll try and behave
Mix
and try
it up
and
a bit.
Yeah, just force all of my instincts down, and we'll see what happens. So we end up speaking to the owner and seeing if we can have a closer look at this hat. And you immediately slam it straight onto your head.
Yep.
And are obviously completely, overwhelmed by how much you are in love with this hat.
We could tell because the squeal was now reverberating through the inside of it, which made it a haunting sound.
Sounded
quite
like
frankly.
a bee stuck in a wine bucket.
It was terrifying, quite frankly.
Yeah, so me and Webb, we turn to the owner and we start having a chat about, it's got a price tag on it, but we can't see it because it's vibrating so much.
Yeah.
So we have to chat to the owner, and we're just midway through conversation, and we just hear a smash, and we turn around and Snipe is just gone, and the hat it's gone. The door is not as wide as the hat, but she somehow managed to run through this door, take bits of the door frame missing that were hanging off the edge of the antlers, and she's now out the shop running down the street, and we're like, oh, okay, right. I guess we should go and get your hat back then, sir.
And at this point, he was halfway towards reaching the telephone to dial the police, and he was like, yeah, you probably should.
Of course, we managed to reassure him. I don't quite know how, but we managed to reassure him that we'll get this hat back. But obviously...
the method that I used was money.
Okay, right. Okay, good to know. It's good to know that money works in this situation. I daren't ask how much.
You don't want to know, man. You don't want to know.
But anyway, so we head out. We leave the shop and we head down the street and try and catch up with Snipe, who's she's gone, a blur of dust at the bottom of the hill. Eventually catch up with her. She's headed to a park, like a big open green space.
I must return to my promised land.
And she's been, for want of a better phrase, rutting up with this stag antlers on the top of her head against, basically, from what we could see, every single bin in this park. And I have no idea why she took so much anger against these bins. I don't know what the bins had ever done in her past. Because we were worried she'd be charging down people, but no, everyone was fine. There was people gathered around watching, but they were all fine. None of them had antler holes in them.
I think I actually did work this out.
Yes?
What was going on? So you know how deers ram into each other with their antlers?
Yeah.
As a sign of dominance and things.
Yeah.
Most of the bins in the area, because it was part of Derbyshire, they had deers on them. So she saw them as a threat.
Right, okay,
Just saw red. I couldn't control myself.
Yeah, so she had to ram into them to assert her dominance over the bins. We're just lucky that a van didn't go past with the Derbyshire County Council logo on it.
Yeah, who knows where she would have ended up.
Yeah, she would have been chasing that down the street for miles.
But yeah, so she's taken out pretty much every bin we can see, and it's a public park. There's quite a few bins around. Every one of them you can see, looking any direction, is now in a heap on the floor. We get to it just not quite in time for her to focus on something new and run off another way. And we have to chase her, and she's ended up a tree because, I don't know if she's trying to get away from us or the bins or who knows.
I think I was just trying to fight a bird.
Yeah. Maybe. Who knows?
See, fortunately for us, as we've established, you're a scurrier, Matt. So getting up the tree wasn't easy for you to catch.
No.
It's because of those claws he has.
Yeah,
of course. And actually, you know what? She actually managed to calm down. She was up there, and she was just yelling out to anyone who would listen that she is the Forest Lord, wearing this hat. And actually, surprisingly enough, as soon as we agreed with her and sort of reassured her, yes, you are the Forest Lord, but you know what? You're the Forest Lord without this hat. Surprisingly enough, that actually managed to calm her down. We got her out of the tree. It was absolutely no effort to get the hat off her, and as long as we just keep reassuring her that she is yet still the Forest Lord, despite having given up this hat, it actually was a relatively nice conclusion to the whole thing.
Yeah, unfortunately, we do have to maintain this to the present day. Honestly, the simplest way I've found of doing it is just each morning writing it down on a post-it note and just
and just leaving it on the fridge. And
you just leaving it somewhere obvious,
Yeah, and as long as you see it every now and then, it
seems to keep you leveled.
Every time I walk past a bin, though, I still get a bit twitchy.
Yeah,
well, I mean, it's understandable. I mean, I know where you're coming from with this. So
thank you. I appreciate you understanding.
All in all, a fun day out.
Yeah, that was a fun day. I managed to finally evolve a dugong, a seal into a dugong. It was fun.
Nice.
That was also the noise it made when I kept headbutting those bins.
That was weird.
That was so weird.
I read the email and I tried to not think about it too much because I didn't want to remember too hard before I told the story.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Excellent. That is the end of the questions.
Good. Okay. Cool.
Good.
Good. It's
I didn't mean like that. I just meant it's.
We can turn the fan on.
We can turn the fan on, and you can go and live in a fridge or whatever it is you're going to do to survive.
Yeah. Get ready for the next visitors that are coming in a few hours.
Oh dang!
It's okay. We don't need it. More body warmth in the flat is fine, right?
Yeah, that's fine. What's the opposite of hypothermia? Because if you can make yourself so hot that you start feeling cold, that sounds pretty good, actually.
I think death happens before that, so...
You're not a doctor, you don't know.
I mean, no, but...
Yeah.
But I'm also... Sure it'll be fine.
It's fine.
But take care and drink a lot if anyone else is in
stay hydrated.
Most of Europe where it's having a heatwave.
And also, wear sunscreen. Sunscream.
Yeah.
Scream at the sun.
Scream at the sun, but make sure that
it is the death orb. It gives life, but also death.
Also, yeah.
Don't forget to use sunscreen.
And also, if you happen to live in a country where AC is common, please feel free to not start being derisive about people in Europe.
Because we literally
about
live
us having trouble with heat.
Because we live in brick houses that literally, when heat goes on them, turns into a fucking oven. So you ain't smart.
Yeah. And without wanting to put too much of a down on the end of the podcast, people having ACs on running off electricity is possibly what's causing some of the excessive heat. So, be careful when you start acting all high and mighty.
The planet is dying. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, everyone. Stay cool.
Stay cool, because the inevitable heat death of the universe is on its way.
Yeah, and it's happening in France in Drummer Matt's flat. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye.